Leader Nancy Pelosi, urging her party to hit the GOP tax scam. Well, polls show that Republicans are now closing the gap with Democrats for the midterms. To Independent Women's Forum Director of Policy Hatley Heath Manning and Washington Free Beacon writer Liz Harrington on if there are actually signs that voters are now really starting to like the tax plan. Liz, what are your thoughts? Because I felt from the very beginning Nancy Pelosi made a major miscalculation dissing the tax plan and the benefits for this average workers.
Right, and Pelosi certainly knows how to come up with winning strategies to help Republicans. And now she's calling it went from crumbs, now it's a scam. I love how Pelosi and the Democrats think the scam is when we get to keep more of our hard-earned money. I think to most voters, they think the scam is what they do with our money once it gets to Washington. But you see a closing of the gap, I think, not only because of the tax cuts, but you see positive signs in the economy. And I think you also see voters reacting positively to Trump's latest moves on trade. So I think Republicans are closing the gap, but it remains to be seen in November where the economy is going to be. But Democrats have to decide if they want the Pelosi resistance further to the left playbook, or do they want to go with the more moderate, veteran-type Connor Lamb, who are basically pro-Trump Democrats. That will be a decisive factor in November.
And pro-tax cut Democrat at that. Hatley, you know, it feels like Nancy Pelosi has tried to adjust her crumbs comment, which was a disaster. We all know that. And now going back to the old playbook of politics of envy. Yeah, you're getting more, but someone else is getting even more than you.
And she's going to attempt to tie the tax cuts to Medicare. I think voters are smarter than that. I think they understand that those are separate issues. Yes, Washington does need spending reforms, and spending reforms, you know, largely will center around programs like Medicare and Social Security. If we want to address our long-term deficits and debt, yes, she has a point. Those things need addressing, but there's not political will on either side of the aisle to tackle that at this moment. And candidates are considering two things in every election: how they're going to respond when they talk about certain issues and what those issues are going to be. What are the issues that are going to be top of mind for voters? I agree with you, Charles. I think it would be a miscalculation for Democrats to center the midterms around the tax reform package, which is growing in popularity as voters continue to see positive headline after positive headline, raises, increased benefits, even expanded maternity leave programs in some cases as employers respond to having those additional resources in-house.
Yeah, a lot of progressive organizations like Starbucks admitting, hey, you know, we were able to speed up our programs from paid maternity leave to even sick leave. But Hatley, let me ask you, why aren't the Republicans, individual Republicans around the country, touting this even more? I haven't really heard this message with a full-throated optimism that I think it should be that they should be using.
Well, some of them are touting it, Charles, and I think that they're sort of hoping that the economy will speak for itself. And you discussed with some other guests earlier in the show just what a great rally period the economy is in right now. And yes, voters will take that into account. It's hard to be upset with Republicans or upset with President Trump when it seems like things are going well in terms of jobless claims, in terms of the economy broadly, in terms of the stock market. Absolutely. But I think Republicans are also concerned that if there's a chance that they lose their majorities and lose their opportunity to affect change, then they have a very short window for passing some of their other policy priorities. And so they're focused on those things at this point. They're looking at infrastructure. They're looking at, you know, other priorities that they want to get through before this November, so that they have more than one talking point, that it's not just about the tax reform, but it's about the economy as a whole.
Well, you know, Liz, to what degree that they shoot themselves, the Republicans shoot themselves in the foot with that $1.3 trillion omnibus. It was a gargantuan bill that looked more like it was authored by Democrats than Republicans.
Exactly, and that's the problem for Republicans here. I mean, banking on the tax cuts, which are good, and it's helping the economy, that's one thing, but they're not going to have anything else on the agenda for the rest of the year, and that's what they did, is spend $1.3 trillion. It makes them look completely hypocritical after, you know, years of protesting President Obama's trillion-dollar deficits. It's a bad look, and they didn't even get any funding for Trump's wall or in any immigration reform either. So it's a bad look, and it's hard to see how it's not going to help their voters to be energized when they spend just as much as the Democrats do.
Yeah. Well, ladies, you know, to your point, though, we've got a record amount of job openings out there. And anecdotally, I think the average person out there just, you know, get in their car and they go to the mall, they see for help wanted signs, their checks are bigger. So maybe that will make the difference. Certainly the numbers are starting to tick in their direction. Ladies, thank you both very much. Always appreciate your expertise on the show.
Thank you.
Well, stock